This episode of Divine Providence, the podcast, is brought to you by Cactus AI, the best essay helper for students.
A frenzy in Friartown.
Crossover, quick release.
Oh, baby, and the foul. Woo. Offensive rebound for Watson.
32 seconds. Shot clock differential about 14 seconds. 3-point lead.
Run shit like me, top 5 basically. I still play for keeps, ain't no fantasy. Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 12 of Divine Providence. I'm your host, Matthew Leb, along with Eduardo, and of course, Mac, as always. Well, gentlemen, we are back in the win column for the first time since mid-December. Boys looked good last night. I think all three of us, probably, I think for the maybe first time this year, were in attendance last night. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't get to see Eduardo.
I was at the St. John's game, so that was my second game this year. Oh, first game this year because it's 2025. But
okay,
I've still yet to meet Eduardo in person, and honestly frustrates me.
You could have in Newport, but you hit me. So, but we don't. I don't. You don't want to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. I
mean, I will say that I agree. The Newport thing is pretty ridiculous. Last night, though, I didn't know Eduardo was at the game. He just told me just before we started recording here, so we could have, we could have done a little meet and greet. So, I mean, obviously a really good game. Any initial thoughts from last night? I mean, besides obviously, that we did well.
How Providence Friars is it to drop 8 out of 10, and just as I'm like mentally preparing to check out for the season, like whatever, I'm gonna crack jokes, have some fun, but like not really too invested into the win versus loss result, and then they just suck you back in. Like never was that game in doubt last night. They looked awesome, but they're just gonna suck me back in, no Diddy, and just make me believe for another at least 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it really is so interesting to see the arc of this team, and obviously it'll continue to develop. But you went from when this season first started, you were getting very little from Cardette, and obviously you were getting nothing from Mila. I mean, Ryan Mila was an afterthought. To now, basically your offense, like option 1 is a Mila dribble drive. Option 2 is like a Cardette dribble drive. And then option 3 is like, Jaden Pierre three-pointer, right? And it's just so different from the non-conference and what we saw. And it's like this team is now built to kind of move forward without Bryce Hopkins. Again, we don't know what his status is going to be. It's looking like he's probably not going to play. But this is a team that can compete without Bryce Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I think we kind of just got to take the team for face value. The team that we've seen the last probably month now, whatever the lineups may be without Bryce Hopkins is the team that we're going to see until, the end of the season. The one thing you pointed out is, you were talking about Mila dribble drive and Cardette dribble drive. It was refreshing last night, and even versus UConn to kind of see the team across the board really just kind of attack the hoop a little bit more, as opposed to everyone standing around the 3-point line just looking for an open shot. And that's where a guy like Wes Cardette can really cause havoc. He's not necessarily a shooter. I know he hit a 3 or 2 last night, but like Kim has said before, this offense is predicated on dribbling, passing, finding an open shot. So guys like Mila and Cardette, who aren't necessarily great shooters, you're starting to see them kind of find their footing, being able to just attack the hoop.
Yeah, I think if you just hypothetically, right, in a big moment, is there anyone on the team right now, like if you need a bucket down the stretch, you need a hoop, absolutely have to have one. Honestly, I think it's Cardette. right now. Like, you give the ball to him, and he tries to get to the hoop. I think Mila is in that conversation. We all love, Jaden Pierre 3, but that's more of a opportunistic shot. Whereas, like, Cardette, he's a guy that can just manufacture points. Would you agree if you need a bucket, like, it's Cardette, or would you maybe give the ball to Mila or someone else?
I would, gun to my head, I would lean like a JP or Bensley Joseph if you want a big shot. But like you said, finding an open three is a little accidental. Whereas if you have a guy who can attack the hoop like a Wes Cardette, that's just talent. That's just dude beating dude. And so, if all situations are parallel, I trust Wes Cardette just beating a dude to the rack.
Dude on dude. That is
fucking damn it.
Dude
beating dude.
I think that's a pretty good segue into the dude of the night. Actually, we don't want to get to that yet. We'll go over the dude of the night in a little bit. The Butler game, though, more on that. Hold on. My dog's fucking barking.
Oh, you got a loud ween.
Yeah, I know. Talk about dude on dude.
Yeah. But I don't know if this is going too off topic, but last night I did notice the crowd was a little lackluster, and even going to the game, knowing it's an 8:30 tip. Leb, you were like the first person I saw when I walked into the building last night, and the place was empty probably a half hour before tip. But the seats did fill in, but it felt quiet, and I know the crowd energy was like a topic of conversation early in the year, but I've never noticed a bigger difference when students were on break. Like it was basic 90% full. I'd say the arena was last night, but just the energy didn't seem to be there. I don't know if it was an 8:30 tip or just not much to get up for. There weren't like crazy big plays, a couple of lobs here and there, a couple threes, but I don't know. The energy was one thing I definitely noticed last night.
It was kind of like, and we always have one or two of these every year during Big East play. It's kind of like the St. John's game last year. I don't know if you guys were at that one. It was a snowstorm game, and Patino came in. There were actually talks about canceling the game, moving the game, and granted, there was no snow last night, but it was unusually cold. It was like 5 degrees, and 8:30 tip. I mean, that's 8:30 tip plus 5 degrees. A lot of people are just gonna say, hey, I'm just gonna stay in for this one. So yeah, the crowd definitely could have been better. Also, yeah, I mean, attendance wise, it is what it is. One Big East game is fine. The team's also under 500 for the first time. I was thinking about this today when I was in the shower. When was the last time the Friars were under 500? Like, just period. Because I mean, they've never been 0-1 like since I've been watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe like I can think of like maybe it's a point. Maybe they were like 2-3 or something like that. Like after when they went to California for the tournament in 1920, maybe they were. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I mean, you do make a good point, and that's what I was saying though. Like, we're not used to the Friars being below 500. I was just saying, like, just when I was ready to hang it up for the season, like mentally, I guess, and emotionally, and not, put so much of the faith of my mental health into 18 to 23-year-olds. But, big bounce back win, and all of a sudden it's the script is completely changed. But yeah, it at least a week ago, it felt like almost, very dark times in Friartown. But then last night you get the reminder of, hey, Bryce Hopkins or no Bryce Hopkins, this team can still compete.
I think so. I mean, they're substituting his production with Mila and Cardette. I mean, basically what you would get from Hopkins, you're getting from those two guys, right? I think people underestimate how simple this game can be, especially offensively, right? If you can supplement Bryce's points, like obviously neither of those guys are going to rebound as well, but I don't know. I mean, Mila had 14 rebounds last night. So, ultimately, I would rather have Bryce Hopkins. But if you can't, then I think these are fine substitutes. And I think that this team could make a little bit of a run. The one curious thing that we kind of continue to follow is the metrics. So whereas years past, like the metrics have just absolutely destroyed us, hurt us. This year, our being 500, 8-8. If you told me we were in the 70s of the net and Ken Palm, I would have thought you were crazy. Because I mean, we've been 7 games above 500 and been in the 60s. So I'm actually holding out a little bit of hope still for an at-large. I feel like that might be a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, we beat Butler at home. But with the Mila thing, it gives you a little bit of hope. It does give you a little bit of hope. Eduardo, what about you? What do you think? Still holding out hope for an at-large or no?
Well, they could be 0-20 and still win the Big East tournament. So I always have some hope for the NCAA tournaments. But I thought one thing about the game, I was listening to the post-game show, and they had Cardette on. He was talking about during practice, they were practicing a lot about spacing on the offensive floor, and I think it really showed last night. They got to the paint a shit ton, so that's one big thing. A lot of floaters, too, as well, less threes. That's what I saw.
Definitely. Yeah.
I feel like Osmond got a couple more lob looks than we're used to. No? I feel like first half you see like guys going up, whether he capitalizes on it or not. Like a lot of just lob looks for Osmond. Maybe like half a dozen.
Definitely. Corey Floyd caught a one-handed lob. That was insane. But to go back to the Osmond thing, the one of my biggest complaints about the 5 position earlier this year was the pick and roll was so lazy. Last night and in the UConn game, Oswin and the pick and roll, he looks like he looks like he's actually been playing basketball for more than 4 years. Like he legitimately is rolling off the screen super hard, cutting fast, and he's looking for the ball. He's anticipating the ball. Like before, both those guys, Oswin and Kreist, would just kind of roll, and it would just be so lackadaisical, not expecting the ball. And Oswin, honestly, Oswin has been great. Like a lot of the talk has been about Ryan Mila, but Oswin's a guy who has been playing basketball a lot shorter of a time, and he's picking up the things that we need him to pick up very fast. Really excited about Oswin as a 4-year player, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think as much as I hate moral victories, like the thing you can point to is your 2 most at least exciting players are the ones that are true freshmen, and you got locked down until 2028, But yeah, Oswin came in as a raw prospect, and I think it's obvious now that he's getting better every game. And the sky's the limit for him. He's defending better. He's just such a freak athlete that it's something like that is very hard to teach. That when you start seeing the fundamentals of basketball kind of come along as the season goes, it's refreshing to see, and almost that confirmation bias of like, all right, let's buy back into Kim English because he clearly hit on Osmond.
Right. And Kim English has coached some pretty decent teams. I mean, he's never coached any great teams yet. One thing that he has for him is there has been some guys that he's inherited, right, that he has developed into stars. So like Odoro he inherited, but Odoro became a really good player. And let's not forget, I mean, Kim English played the position, played the 4, right, and the 5 a little bit, but he was a big man, and he was just very successful one in college as well as, the NBA for a short period of time. So this is a guy who, I mean, he knows what it takes to be developed and to develop talent. Also, I mean, Devin Carter took a huge jump from year 3 to year 4 with Kim. Granted, how much of that was Kim versus how much of that was just opportunity for Devin with like Bryce Hopkins going down. Again, we don't really know, but I think once you see the whole picture with Kim, the recruits plus the player development, and then kind of working out some of the kinks, one thing that's been clear from the UConn game and the Butler game is this game plan on offense is totally different. And I think it's like more of what we saw with Hopkins, but Mila and Cardette are the Hopkins. So like you see a lot of dribble drive, even if it's just a little bit of penetration, right? Kind of open up the floor a little bit.
Just a
Just
little
a
bit of
tiny
penetration.
Little bit, just a tiny bit. And I mean, as we said, we love penetration, you know. So
Mhm.
no, I'm cautiously optimistic about the direction of this team. I think it could be good. We'll see. I think we probably won't know more Saturday because Seton Hall is not a very good team. I'm not saying that we're going to blow them out or even win, but I don't know, you know, if they're the best measure, you know, for this team. So we'll see.
Yeah. Going back to Kim a little bit, you know, you touched on the development and almost working out the kinks. I think one thing that people aren't really talking about too much, and I'm going to come to Kim's defense here, is because obviously, you know, people would talk when, you know, Friars drop 8 out of 10, but um, you know, Kim and the team itself are really learning on the fly right now and looking for an identity. Um, and this take could look stupid in a month. The Friars could be 8-12, or they could be, you know, 14-9. But this team's learning on the fly. A team that expected to have Bryce Hopkins, and they're kind of just figuring it out as they go right now. Obviously, coming into the season, you expect Bryce Hopkins, and that is to no fault of Kim. That is to no fault of anyone on the team. That includes Bryce Hopkins. That's no fault of anyone's. But and maybe it was just a weak opponent the Friars ran into, but it feels like they are starting to figure out that identity, what the team looks like without Bryce.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Butler, it's hard to say. You know, I think there's like 4 teams in the Big East that like we don't really know exactly what they are. We know like Butler's not very good. We know Seton Hall's not very good. But we were saying at the beginning of the year how bad Villanova was. And now Villanova is, I mean, I wouldn't, if you said to me right now, I want Villanova as the 3rd best team over St. John's, I wouldn't hate that. You know, I still think I would rank them Marquette, UConn, St. John's. But if you swapped Villanova and St. John's, I wouldn't hate that. We don't really know what Georgetown is 100% yet. Still really don't know what we are. We know Seton Hall and Butler are pretty bad. Xavier, I think Xavier is probably the next team in that conversation of like, you know, kind of bad. So like four teams that are bad: DePaul, Seton Hall, Butler, Xavier. Then you have a few teams you don't really know, and then you have obviously your good teams. So I think that there's opportunity here to continue to win some games, get back in the conversation for the bubble, get some momentum going into the Big East tournament. If you get in that large bid, which is very unlikely, then great. Other route, obviously, is winning the Big East tournament, which you just got to get hot. Just play good basketball at the right time and get hot. So we'll see.
Looking ahead, we have Seton Hall at Creighton, who's having a down year, at Villanova, who feels like a wild card. Fat Boys homecoming against Georgetown, and then at Seton Hall. So, I mean, I don't want to be too optimistic, but like, there's a genuine shot. You know, February rolls around, the Friars could be as good as 8-3 in the Big East, and conversations are totally different. So, you know, obviously they start 1-3 in the Big East, but you run into probably the consensus top 3 teams in the conference. So you get those tough matchups out of the way early, and I think there's totally an avenue to run the table in January.
Yeah,
maybe that's heinous. That may be heinous, but
I mean, it's really not. It's not crazy. Like, you know, these games are all winnable. Every single game in the Big East for this Friars team is winnable. Like they have the pieces to win the games. You know, if you're sitting there and if you are 8-3, or if you're 7-4, I mean, I think you're in a pretty good spot for all things considered. Like without Bryce Hopkins, you know, but if you're sitting there 7-4 or 8-3, and two of your best players are freshmen, and you know your other best player, Jaden Pierre, is hopefully returning, and you got two really good recruits coming in. I mean, it's you know, if this is the worst it's going to be, then I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week.
100%. Yeah, I think you used the word I should have used in the fact that these games are all winnable. Like worst case scenario, the rest of the games in January should probably be a coin flip, except for maybe Villanova, who for some reason is Providence's kryptonite, with or without Jay Wright. But yeah, these games are all attainable. And if you told me the Friars went 6-0 in the month of January, I wouldn't bat an eye.
No, I agree. I completely agree. We shall see. Other than that, I mean, you know, 8:30 game, a little bit of a later one. So, you know, the crowd, we talked about the crowd a little bit. It was a good atmosphere overall for what it was. You know, I don't hate it. We did have a visitor. I think we may have just lost Mac. Nope, we got him back. Oh,
My bad, guys.
nope, you're good. You're good, man. I'll just mark it. If you want to cut it, you can. If not, who cares? Let them hear.
We'll let it ride.
Yeah. So we had a friend of the PCBC ally, Yuli, in the building. I think when you left, though, the clip left. So
we got it. We'll cue it up, ladies and gentlemen. This is Closet PC Superfan, Yule Dog.
So yesterday, went to the Providence game. Didn't turn out how I expected, but you know, woke up feeling good. Got to Route 28 stop, took the commuter rail. It was a long ride. You know, we made some stops. It was good. Everything went smooth. It was cold. I tried walking to the amp all the way outside, and then I saw that Sky Pass where you could just walk through. So I got into the Providence Place Mall, went through there, walked with the crowd. Nobody knew I was a legendary Butler fan. Got in the stadium, immediately spotted John Fanta. Oh, you know I had to say hi to him. John Fanta's the GOAT. And, you know, settled in, watched the first half. Butler looked okay. It wasn't great. They played with them. They had a lead. Team just wasn't doing well. The crowd, it was a tough crowd for an 8:30 game, but that's part of it. 8:30, no students. What can you do? And then I saw a one burner who said hi to me, didn't know who it was. And then, you know, Friar came up to me at halftime, and then I sat with him in the second half. I saw Jen Felton. I saw Keno Davis. I saw Carl Weiser. I saw Mac. Didn't see Leb. Was hoping to see Leb. It's okay. He's a celebrity there in Providence, but, you know, it was a good game. Not for Butler, but it was just fun to be there. I like Providence. I like going to the Amp. It's the closest stadium to me. It's easy to get to. And, you know, it was just good. Ryan Mila is very good. I saw him play in high school. Kid's a bucket. 15 rebounds yesterday. You know, I think I'm going to go to more Providence games. It gives me the Big East feel that I need with being so far from Indianapolis. And I think Providence, you know, it's been a struggle without Bryce Hopkins. Hopefully he gets better. But I think the team can do well. I think they can next year. I think they have the pieces with Oswin and Mila, who I know very well. They're going to be good. Kim English can coach. I know there was some rough games for PC, but it's part of it. The Big East is tough to play and always hard with scheduling a non-con, but I just really liked Providence. I like the Amp. The fan base is great on Twitter. It's just a fun crowd. especially when it's a Saturday at 12 like last year. But what can you do about an 8:30 game? It's bad scheduling by the Big East. Butler Providence should have been the 6:30 game, so we could get a better crowd, especially during winter break. But I know the fans will pack the amp sooner. I know that Georgetown game is going to be massive, and I do plan on going because that game is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just great stuff there from Yule Dog. And Yulee has received a lot of hate on Big East Twitter, and I know everyone on the show has always been chill with Yulee. I mean, we don't try to get in too many conflicts, too many beefs. But Yulee's one of those guys who lays it all out there, and he ruffles some feathers, and he definitely has some enemies. And I would say he's maybe one of the more disliked people on the Big East Twitter, space. But here's a kid who he comes down to the amp, right? He's wearing Butler stuff. He's probably, one of the more well-known Butler fans. Kind of hated on Big East Twitter a little bit, for his stuff. And he comes to the amp and he leaves with like a dozen friends, and this, all I hear from everyone on Big East Twitter is how mean PC fans are, how mean the PCBC is. And here comes Yulee of all people. And he comes here and it's everyone's so friendly to him. It's just the narrative is not the truth. We are nice. We are welcoming. You come to one of our games, we'll be nice to you. Everyone, though, has said that. So not just Yulee. Everyone has said that. Everyone's always nice to the visiting fans. And now, if you're a Georgetown fan, obviously a little different, But I'm glad Yulee had a good time. And I do apologize that I wasn't able to see him. I wasn't looking at my phone. And you can see the tweets. It did not tweet during the game once. I was just kind of just chilling, just vibing, having a good time. So hopefully Yulee can come back. We'd love to have him back. That'd be great. Sorry to ramble, but I just had to get that out there because, it's unfair. We get a lot of hate, and we treated Yulee like gold.
Yeah. Yulee was our king for 2 hours.
Yeah.
The mainstream media wants you to believe that PCBC is evil and this crooked organization, and it's just not true. It's fake news.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was standing in between the 100s and 200s, and I see this kid walk by me. This is pregame during shoot-around. I see this kid walk by me. I'm like, that's fucking Yulee. Flyest guy in the building, too. Like, he's got the red and blue scarf. I don't know if it looked like New York Giants colors. I don't know if Yulee's a Giants fan or something. And I see he's strutting down the steps. He already knows he can go courtside, right behind the benches. He knows the nooks and crannies of the dunk. He can just walk down. When it dapped up John Fanta, him and Fanta, clearly boys. And then it was cool to see him. Him and Friars were walking around, and ended up meeting them. And yeah, it was cool. I encourage more fans of other teams to come to the dunk specifically to do the tour day burners, because it was cool meeting Yulee yesterday.
We might be able to set one up next year. Maybe charge a little fee, a little burner tour. I don't know, something. We'll figure something out. But yeah, I mean, no, I think that's perfectly said. Like Yulee he's a guy, obviously he knows his way around the basketball arena. He's been the guy loves sports. You can't knock it. I mean, here's a guy, you see him going to high school field hockey games. He posts on his Twitter. I mean, that's just dedication to sporting events in general. So, I mean, and if you're in New England and you're a Big East basketball fan, I mean, for that to be so close for him and very affordable, price tag for the whole thing, he's got to come to more games. I mean, I think a lot of people leave the amp feeling like, I want to come back here. Definitely, no doubt.
Yulee, if you can find me in the dunk January 25th, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah.
Eduardo, if you have anything to say on this subject?
Yulee's the most normal Butler fan ever. That's all I'm going to comment.
I feel like Yulee Yuli isn't the most hated. I think it's just his cooking. Yuli just buy a cookbook or something.
Yeah, he sometimes he'll say or do something on Twitter and he gets like just people attack him, and then it's not like long-term hate. It's more like people just like will attack him, and then they'll get over it, and then he'll just tweet through it. He'll like say something or do something, and people will be like all up in arms, right? Or there'll be like some screenshots, something that Yuli said, and he'll just tweet through it. And if you look at his feed, it's just like retweet after retweet, and then he'll wake up the next day like nothing happened. Just tweet about Butler, and like it's just you almost have to respect it, and I do respect it. I've always thought that Big East Twitter, like it should always be a space for everyone, right? We should all bust balls, right? That's how it is. No one should get like hated on, like actual hated on, right? But you should be able to take a joke, you should be able to bust balls, and like if someone razzes you or busts your balls a little bit, just move on, and that's what Yuli does.
Mental toughness, Yuli. Mental fucking toughness.
Yeah. This Butler team could learn a little something from Yuli.
That's for sure.
Well, besides Yuli, we did have a dude of the night that's not named Yuli. So we ran a poll. Do we have the poll numbers? Because it was a pretty big blowout.
Yeah, wide margin. Obviously, every Friars win, we'll be posting a poll asking you guys to vote on the dude of the night. We're going to be, for whatever it's worth. We'll be giving out an honorary tall boy to the dude of the night after every win. Last night, our options were Ryan Mila, Jaden Pierre, Wes Cardette, Bentley Joseph. And with 92% of the votes, Ryan Mila is the 8th dude of the night. Troy Bolton earns his first tall boy and has made the graphic.
Yep. Very happy for Mr. Mila. The pride of Natick, Massachusetts. So his first dude of the night. Some people, said he maybe should have got one for the what was that, the Stonehill game? I think he had a good game against Stonehill.
Was it Stonehill or Green Bay?
Good question.
One of them.
Yeah. Listen, you guys vote. So whoever it is, I mean, we don't care who wins. Sometimes it's going to be obvious. Sometimes maybe you might have a few guys in double figures. I mean, it was clear. Obviously, last night was very easy. But, I mean, how many did Jaden have last night? JP had, what, 20?
I believe 18.
Oh, really? Maybe I was thinking the UConn game. How many did he have?
I think Ben's, JP, and Wes were all in the same neighborhood, like 17, 18 points.
Huh.
Benz and JP had 18. Cardette had 17. Yep. Mela had 10.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Mila, I mean, 10, 15, and 4. So, I mean, he had 10 points, so double figures. Led in rebounding with 15. Led in assists with 4. So JP had 2 assists. Mila had 4. Where's Ben's?
I think
Ben's
everyone's making the Larry Bird comparisons, but 10, 15, and leading the team in assists. We might have Magic Johnson on our hands.
He's like a white. I mean, he's like a more Magic Johnson. He's Magic Johnson with more magic.
Yeah, for sure, and white blood cells.
God damn. Yeah, for sure. Yes, he's a more Magic Johnson with no HIV, as Mac highlighted. But he's awesome, man. I love watching him play. He's He's great. I don't want to go through all the white cliches. I mean, the Larry Bird thing is a little bit of a white player cliche. I think he just fits the height bill. He's, playing for a team where most of the fans are Celtics fans. So I think they just see white dude and they just think Larry Bird, I'm guilty. So that's me. And also we were playing an Indiana team last night. So that's another factor. So that was the whole Larry Bird thing. Like I tweeted yesterday because Butler's in Indiana, Larry Bird's from Indiana. So yeah, I think, hey, if he's any of those guys, even a little bit, I think we did really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Meal is looking every bit of a diamond in the rough as far as recruiting is concerned. I'm going to keep saying, I might say it every friggin' episode for the rest of the season. I hope he's a 4-year Friar. I hope we never lose him. I hope for some reason he finds a loophole and he can do 6 grad years because he's a Friar through and through. I just want to see the first time I see Ryan Mila just dive on a loose ball and like get tied up with another player for like a jump ball or something, then I'm running through a wall because he does everything else right.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Jabri. He went over the scores table last night. That was very impressive. A lot of heart, a lot of hustle, and he got a round of applause. We're a pretty simple fan base. You lay your body on the line, you give max effort. We'll cheer you on. Jabri's had a tough go. He hit a 3 last night. That was awesome. But he's had a tough go. Diminished minutes, come off the bench, dove for a loose ball, went over the scores table, and then got a nice hand. So that was good. Got to play hard here. That's what it's all about. Pretty much every Big East school, I think, is like the fans like the grittiness. They like the hard nose, intense. Got to do that at a Big East school, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, well, especially like Friars teams. If honestly, Yuli could go out there and if he's diving for loose balls and boxing out and playing physical, he'll be a fan favorite.
Hell yeah.
I think this fan base just respects tough hustle players universally. For research purposes, I was actually going through Divine Providence, the documentary, the other day. And one of the things that were highlighted that stood out to me, and I almost got chills, was you were part of it. John Fanta was part of it. A couple of the guys that got interviewed from Georgetown were part of it, but just talking about the toughness of Providence and how it's their identity. And it's not like this is this new thing. Like any good Friars team, the common denominator is toughness and hustle. So it was very refreshing to see that out of Jabri last night.
Definitely. Yeah, that was their brand for every single game under Ed Cooley was like, and when Ed Cooley first got here, it was like his mantra was like, we might not win every game on the scoreboard, but we're going to win every fight. And then, I think things kind of changed as years go on. I think, Cooley changed a little bit. His coaching style changed a little bit. I think he kind of fell out of that a little bit. I think they were still tough, but it was more, it was less about that. But that's because they were good. So, like, when you're good, you don't need to be as tough. But when you're not good, you need to be the toughest team. And that's where this Friars team is kind of at. Like, they might not be the most gifted right now, at least. But if you can be the toughest team, then you're going to win some games that you probably shouldn't. So I'm hoping that's that's what the case moving forward. They were tough last night. They were definitely tough last night.
Yeah, they out-meated Butler. Their man meat out-man-meated Butler's man meat.
Definitely.
And hopefully, we see that for the rest of the season.
It showed on the glass, too. They won the rebound battle by 17 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah.
and Butler actually, I think Butler out-rebounded Ryan Mila himself by only 11.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw someone tweet that. That's really impressive. I mean, Mila just every rebound. You know who's been rebounding really well as well? Jaden Pierre. Skying for rebounds, as John Rook would say. Next game Saturday, Seton Hall. Are you guys going to be in attendance, or what are we looking at for that one?
Eduardo, will you be in attendance, and when are we meeting up?
50-50 right now. I gotta see the snow in Syracuse.
Okay, I hope it's a blizzard and you got to put it off another day.
Yeah, you guys get some snow up there. Up in old
Canada.
upstate New York.
Yeah, basically Canada.
Like some people like to call it.
So last night I was sitting in my seat, looking at my watch, thinking, damn, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's almost time to go out to the bars. And then I looked over at my brother who I was with, and I said, dude, it's fucking Wednesday. So then I was immediately disappointed because it was just like a vintage go out to the bars after the game type of feel. So hopefully I can capture that again Saturday, because I think what's tip off 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 5 o'clock tip, game ends around 7. Grab a bite to eat, hit the bars. That is like my perfect Saturday this weekend. Obviously, Friars win by 30, but what about you?
Yeah.
You're gonna be in attendance?
I will be there. Yeah, I will definitely be there for sure. I like the 5 o'clock tip, because you can kind of get down there early, but you don't get home too late, so it's kind of perfect. I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the New Year's Eve, 6 o'clock tip. That was perfect. Same thing with 5. So I'm a big fan of that. Also, should be celebrating a win. I'm hoping, Seton Hall. Listen, it's the Big East. Anything can happen in the Big East, but this is a game. If there's one game you absolutely should win, not like have to win. Like last night was the most like must-win game in years. Like if you want to be competitive for the rest of the year. But if there's one game you should win, it's this one. Seton Hall at home. I mean, gotta win.
And as much of a, I guess, cakewalk as this game might seem like, Seton Hall has weirdly been our kryptonite at the dunk the last couple of years. I think it's the only team that's beaten us in consecutive years in Providence, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right. Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I mean, yeah, I think because they didn't even the last 2 years, not counting this year, they didn't lose to UConn back to back. They beat UConn two years ago. Last year they did lose to UConn at home. They beat Marquette at home last year. They beat St. John's at home last year. Yeah,
maybe Villanova's another one, but
yeah, Villanova. Yeah, could be Villanova. I don't think we lost to them 2 years ago at home though. Maybe I don't. It could be. I don't remember.
I remember seeing smoked us 2 years ago on senior night.
Mm-hmm. That was the beginning of the end.
Yep, that was the Cooley the I quit game.
Yep, exactly.
He basically, that was basically it. Like you knew at that point there was something wrong.
Mm-hmm. After further review, Seton Hall has beaten the Friars at the dunk 3 out of the last 4 times.
Wow.
So down year for Seton Hall, and obviously different coaches on both sides throughout that time period. But this is a team that plays well in Providence and honestly on the road pretty universally compared to your average Big East team. So not a cakewalk. We'll gladly take the win. But don't be surprised if you're expecting a cakewalk and it ends up scrappy.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, you guys got anything else? It's going to be kind of a quick one, so.
I have a quick trivia question. You guys might know the answer. I saw it on Twitter yesterday. Do you know what the last freshman Friar was to grab 15 rebounds?
I'll say Henton.
That is correct. 13 years ago.
Wow.
2012.
Good pull, Leb.
Yeah, he was junkyard dog on the glass, especially his first
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 years. I did not see that on Twitter. I swear to God. So that was valid. I was thinking him or maybe Diallo because Diallo had a pretty good freshman year. That's what I was actually thinking. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all you. That's all you.
I was going to say, I mean, is Ryan Mila having the best freshman season since Nate Watson? I mean, Henton.
So that was going to be my guess. My guess was going to be Nate Watson. I don't know. Garway Dual had a pretty good freshman year last year. But yeah, I know that. I mean, there's definitely an argument to be had. I mean, definitely one of the more productive freshmen we've seen
Put Duke
in
up
recent
there.
history.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
And even
Who else? What?
AJ Reeves.
Yeah, Reeves had a really good freshman year. Yeah, that's right. Reeves, Duke, Watson, Henton. Not to go back too far, obviously, but yeah, I mean, Mila is up there. You know, this is for in a while. Like this is the best freshman we've had, and that's just because like the portal too. Like with the portal being really popular in the last 4 years. Freshmen, unless you're like a top 75 recruit, freshmen aren't exactly lighting up the Big East, right? So I mean, Mila was an unranked recruit. Obviously, Oswin was ranked pretty high, but I mean, yeah, you just don't see it as much anymore.
Mm-hmm. Off topic, but I like that trivia thing. We should start doing some trivia on the Leb. You're a little bit more of a historian than I am, but
Well, I'm old.
like that.
It's because I'm old.
I was trying to be politically correct.
Yeah, I'm history. That's why. In 5 or 6 years, when you're my age, you'll be talking about AJ Reeves sounding like Unc. So
yeah, I'm gonna be Unky. Yep. They didn't. Speaking of feeling like an Unc, my beer didn't get poured into a cup last night, and I just felt so old. I was like, "Is this?" And I'm like walking around. I'm like, everyone in here thinks I'm old because I was walking around with a tall boy.
Yeah, that hasn't happened to me ever. And I think last night though, like a night where there would be a ton of students, I think they probably would play it safe with you and just pour it into a cup. But like you do look a little older than student age. The students are on break. It was an 8:30 game. It was freezing cold out. They knew like, all right, probably not a lot of students are going to be here. So I did see a lot more tall boys last night than in games past.
The cutoff age is weird though because I think you have to be 26 for them not to pour it in a cup. But the original I guess ruling was because of students, which like you would imagine it's like 23 is the cutoff or something.
Oh, actually, see, I didn't know that. I thought it was just students.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think it's a certain like whatever number is on your ID, like your birthday.
Gotcha.
So,
All right,
yeah, I felt old last night. Safe to say.
Yeah. You got anything else? We good?
Eduardo, you got anything?
Hopefully, we spoil Garway Dual's revenge game Saturday.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he'll get off in the crowd.
Actually, I don't think he played yesterday. He might be hurt.
I hope not. That'd be sick if he played.
The return of Garweezy. Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I think we're good. Quick little episode, little Butler recap. Send in your questions, send in your remarks. We'll see you Saturday, and go Friars for sure. Hopefully, I see you guys there.
Sir, go Friars.
All right.
Go Friars.